Biden is about to announce something about the Iran nuclear deal that he actually does not want the public to know about. Why don't we listen? That's right. Joe Biden admitted while he was being filmed that the Iran nuclear deal, the same Iran nuclear deal he claimed he was going to renegotiate and re-enter with Iran, is dead. He's acknowledging it. But what was also telling about his statement there was that the White House isn't going to announce it. Probably because the White House, and Biden in particular, doesn't want to deal with the negative feedback he might get as a result of dropping this and essentially calling it dead. It's over. Now, there are some in the international community who think there's still some hope in negotiating an Iran nuclear deal. And I think given all of the terrible behavior of Iran's government, their treatment of their own people, their executions of protesters, their brutality toward those protesters as we speak today, I think it's still important to negotiate a nuclear deal to prevent Iran from building nuclear weapons, okay? So as you watch the footage, this is what I'm referring to. The protests in Iran are ongoing. They were sparked after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was detained for allegedly not wearing her headdress correctly. And of course, the authorities claim that she died of cardiac arrest, but it is widely believed, and I'm in the camp of believing this, that she was beaten to death. So that's what sparked the protests. But the protests, of course, are about more than what just happened to this 22-year-old woman. It's the oppression that people in Iran have been facing. And what's interesting is how the White House is now citing that as their excuse for failing to negotiate the Iran nuclear deal. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background because for those who might not know about this story, maybe you haven't followed along from the beginning. Back in 2015, during the Obama administration, the administration did something that I would argue was successful, something that was good. They negotiated with Iran, and it wasn't just between the United States and Iran. Other countries were involved in these negotiations, and they came up with an agreement that included oversight to ensure that Iran was not enriching uranium and was not building nuclear weapons. That was, again, one area of success in the Obama administration. Now, Donald Trump comes in and he rips it up. Even though there were safeguards in place, even though there was oversight, even though Iran was keeping up with their side of the deal, Trump comes in, rips up the Iran nuclear deal, implements crippling sanctions that have mostly impacted ordinary people in Iran. And that led the way, it allowed for Iran to go back to enriching uranium, which is what we don't want. Am I correct about that? I mean, we don't want that. So Iran might be involved in other behavior that we don't like. Let's keep it real. There are proxy wars. Yemen is an example. Syria is another example. The United States doesn't get along with Iran. Our top ally, Israel, can't stand Iran and really sees Iran as a massive threat and hated the Iran nuclear deal from the very beginning, even though it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And so what's the update? What are we actually hearing from the Pentagon and members of Biden's administration on this issue? Is this really dead? Is there no hope for an agreement, some sort of negotiation to ensure that Iran goes back to a deal where they're no longer developing nuclear weapons? Well, John Kirby, who is Biden's National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications, said this: the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, again, that's the Iran nuclear deal, is just not our focus right now. And it's not on our agenda. We simply don't see a deal coming together anytime soon while Iran, and here's the excuse, continues to kill its own citizens and sells UAVs to Russia. There is no progress happening with respect to the Iran deal now. We don't anticipate any progress anytime in the near future. That's just not our focus. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that it's not their focus, because preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons leads to actual peace, and it leads to a little more security in that region of the world. And defense contractors don't like that. They really, really don't. But this goes beyond defense contractors, and I think that's an important element to this story. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu and the government of Israel was livid with the Obama administration and the international community for agreeing to this deal with Iran. And they see Iran as a major threat. I would venture to say that Iran is definitely a bigger threat if we know that they're developing nuclear weapons. And with that agreement in place, and with the oversight that came along with it, we knew that Iran was not developing nuclear weapons. But it has become abundantly clear that for the government of Israel, whether there's a nuclear deal or not, whether Iran is developing nuclear weapons or not, they want to go to war. And if you think I'm exaggerating, get a load of this next video, because the line of questioning here is telling. Let's watch.
Israel's prime minister designate said that Israel would carry out a military operation against Iran to prevent them from acquiring a nuclear weapon with or without an agreement with the US. And he claimed or alleged that the US would disapprove this military operation, or immediate leak to US outlets could foil. Is this something that you agree with? Is there any response to that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. So I don't want to get into hypotheticals, and I certainly don't want to get into Israeli foreign policy or operational discussions. I'd refer you to them. More broadly speaking, we very much appreciate the partnership that we have with Israel on working on regional security issues, but I'm just not going to get into that.
Genuinely working on regional security issues would have you renegotiate and enter a nuclear deal with Iran to prevent them from developing nuclear weapons. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm crazy in thinking that way, but that's what I think. But get a load of the line of questioning there, right? Like, I don't blame the reporter. I think the way the reporter worded that question tells us a lot about the mentality of some members of the Israeli government. Because for them, they want to do military operations against Iran anyway. They don't care. And that's offensive, right? That's not defensive. That is escalating toward war, or escalating war with Iran. How does that lead to security? And what is that going to do for the United States, its top ally? It means that we get involved in yet another international conflict, funnel tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to that war, as we're doing right now, by the way, with Ukraine. And that doesn't increase security at all. It certainly fattens the pockets of defense contractors, weapons manufacturers. It enriches the military industrial complex. And look, we've been incredibly critical of Iran and its mullahs, its government, its treatment of protesters. My take on re-entering an Iran nuclear deal doesn't take away from that. It is perfectly fine to acknowledge that a government is heinous and terrible to its people, that it is committing egregious acts against its people, while also acknowledging that it's important to maintain stability and security in that region of the world by preventing that particular government from developing nuclear weapons. But it appears that, according to what Biden said on camera, yeah, that's dead. I mean, I know I campaigned on it. I know I gave Trump a lot of grief for ripping up the Iran nuclear deal, but it's a little inconvenient now for me to actually do what I said I was gonna do when I was running. And I think that's awful, to say the least. There's one other thing that I think is playing a role in this decision by the Biden administration. So Ryan Costello, who is with the National Iranian American Council, noted this: as for the complicated reasons Biden would not want to formally announce the deal's demise, one is the protests. With the deal in a coma, the United States has been able to rally the international community to press Iran for its abuses, including 2 unprecedented steps at the UN. Now, what he's referring to there is actually good news. So considering the way Iran is treating protesters right now, and considering the threats of execution toward protesters, the UN finally removed Iran from the UN Commission on the Status of Women. I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That is a good thing that they did. And maybe there is some fear by the Biden administration that if they enter diplomatic talks with Iran in regard to their nuclear weapons development, well, maybe that will dissuade the UN from making these moves. I guess, maybe, I don't know. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you today is because if peace is the actual goal here, or if more importantly, security for other countries in that region is the main goal here, refusing to enter a nuclear deal with Iran is the antithesis of keeping that region of the world safe. And the fact that they've just kind of given up is pathetic, to say the least.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.